Joining us now by phone as we look at what's happening in Israel. We have a new update here on MSNBC on that breaking story of a gunman, what we understand, injuring 9 people, or 9 people being shot, rather, 2 in critical condition, 1 dead. That was the latest that we have information on. Joining us by phone now on that story, Mickey Rosenfeld, foreign press spokesman for the Israel police. And you have an update. What's the latest information that you have at this moment?
What I can confirm is that just over an hour ago, shots were fired in central Tel Aviv at a pub on the main street. Our police units responded immediately at the scene. What we confirmed is that we're looking for the individual, the suspect who carried out that incident. It's not clear until now whether it's a criminal-related incident or whether it's a terrorist-related incident. But what we've confirmed until now is that 2 people have been killed, 4 people have been injured seriously, 3 people have been injured moderately, and our police units are continuing to search the area, central Tel Aviv area, to try and find the suspect who carried out that incident.
Our Paul Goodman, NBC's Paul Goodman, was reporting on an eyewitness account that said there was 1 individual involved, appeared to be dressed in black, and using an assault weapon. Is that what you understand, or what are some of the lead details that you are looking at?
At the moment, our police units have questioned a number of eyewitnesses in the area who've given us reports that the automatic weapon was in fact used. That we do know, and we have confirmed. Our forensics at the moment are looking to see exactly what type of weapon was used. And obviously we're searching still the central part of Tel Aviv, trying to find that suspect in order to clearly make sure that there's no further threat in the area, and also to understand if the background is criminal related or if it is a terrorist attack this afternoon on Friday in central Tel Aviv.
Mr. Rosenfeld, what do you understand in terms of the timeline, when this happened, when the reports came in, and then when your first responders were able to get on the ground?
Well, what took place just over an hour and a half ago in the Tel Aviv area, central Tel Aviv, is that we know that an automatic weapon was used. Our police units responded in the area. We've cordoned off the Tel Aviv area into different sections which are now being searched. And our units are continuing to search the different areas as long as necessary until we find exactly who was behind that incident. At the same time, other areas of the Tel Aviv Central District have been closed off. We've set up roadblocks as well. And counter-terrorism units and anti-terrorism units, undercover units and border police are all involved in trying to find the suspect.
And so what was the time frame between when you got the first report, Mr. Rosenfeld, and when you were able to get those first responders on site?
Well, our police units were dispatched immediately to the central Tel Aviv district area. Our units respond very quickly. We've dealt with a number of terrorist attacks over the last few weeks that have taken place in the Jerusalem area, and therefore it's critical for our units to respond and be at the scene as quick as possible. That's what we have until now. Our units are continuing to work.
And how many did you deploy in this situation? Because as you were describing, Mr. Rosenfeld, your first responders, your terror units, police on the ground, trained and ready for such incidents, unfortunately, that do happen there in Israel.
Well, our units are extremely well trained. Our units respond to any type of incident, whether it's the shooting attack or whether it's a terrorist-related attack. Our units respond immediately. The Tel Aviv area is still the situation relatively under control, but it's very important for us to try and find those terrorists as quick as possible. Or if it's a criminal-related incident, it's still not clear.
Right.
So we'll obviously take some time, but our units are continuing to work at the moment.
Is there an area around in that where the incident is, this crime scene, that you have now cordoned off, and how far is that cordon?
Well, we're talking about the central Tel Aviv area, which is in fact a relatively built-up area, a lot of houses, a lot of apartments. So our units are searching the different areas. In fact, building by building, also other areas which are building sites, and I'm talking about areas that are still being developed. So we're making sure that the areas are slowly but surely being checked and still continuing out a thorough search with a wide range of different units.
Now, Mr. Rosenfeld, we're understanding 2 are confirmed dead based on the information coming from your units. And then the question is, those 9 that were shot, right? Are they in hospitals close by, and how far were those institutions from the location of this crime scene?
What I can confirm is that all the people that were injured in that incident were taken to the nearby hospitals. All of the Tel Aviv hospitals were open immediately. That's the role and the immediate steps that we take whenever there's a major incident. And what we confirmed from the hospitals, in fact, who we're coordinating with and working together, the Israeli police, is that 2 people have been confirmed dead and 4 others injured seriously being treated in the main hospitals.
I'm about to bring in MSNBC's Cal Perry in a second here, but Mr. Rosenfeld, I also wanted to ask you, were there any pieces of information, was there any buzz that was existent before this attack that you were aware of before this happened about an hour and a half ago?
There was heightened security across Tel Aviv and across Jerusalem throughout the last few weeks. We dealt with a number of different terrorist attacks. But at this moment in time, what's important is for us, the Israeli police, to understand whether the background is criminal or terrorist related. It's not clear. That's something that we're still working on as we're speaking right now, and our units are continuing to search the Tel Aviv area.
Mr. Rosenfeld, it's Cal Perry here. Thanks again for joining us, and I know this situation is unfolding. I'm wondering if there's anything we can tell by the fact that the gunman did flee. Does that indicate perhaps that this was terror-related, or is it just simply too soon to tell?
No, that's not clear. A terrorist attack can be a wide range of scenarios. We've had terrorist attackers that have used knives. We've had attacks that shots have been fired. We've also had criminal-related incidents in Tel Aviv, so it could be all of the kind. Our units are experienced enough to try and find, and that's what our police units and forensics are doing inside the pub at the moment, looking to see exactly what type of automatic weapon was used and to clearly understand if it belongs to anyone who is terrorist-related or criminal-related. That's what we're working on right now.
And there was early initial reports that somebody was detained at the scene. Is it clear if that person was involved in the shooting? Have they been released? Do you have any information on that?
What I can confirm is there was a number of people in the area that were arrested immediately. Until this moment in time, they're not connected, and that's why a wide search is continuing across Tel Aviv in order to understand exactly what we're dealing with. And at the moment, the message to the public is that anyone who doesn't need to be outside in the main areas, give the opportunity of the Israeli police and its police units to continue searching all the nearby buildings as well as hotels.
Mickey Rosenfeld, foreign press spokesman for the Israel police. Richard Louie here. Question to you about this particular part of Tel Aviv and that neighborhood. Can you describe to us how it is different than other parts of Tel Aviv and incidents in the past that may have happened there and the frequency thereof?
Well, the actual area itself is relatively built up, a lot of hotels and a lot of different apartment buildings. So there's approximately 20 to 30,000 people living in that specific area, and that's why it's important that we make sure that the different areas are being cordoned off. We've mapped out the areas to try and find which areas are more likely that someone could have fled to, and that's why we're carrying out a significant and confident search of the area with our different units, special patrol units, undercover units, and counter-terrorism units that are now at the scene.
It is early on, as you have said, and you were mentioning the incidents in Jerusalem. And because of those incidents, your preparation in Tel Aviv, any possibility or any considerations of how they might be linked, if at all, to what you have seen happen in the last couple of hours?
Well, that's something that we'll obviously have to look into to see if there's any connection. But initially, we need to find out and understand if we're talking about a terrorist attack. If it's a terrorist attack, then we'll lead our officers to investigate in one certain direction, as well as coordination with other security organizations here as well, as to understand who the attacker was and if it's connected to any recent incidents that have taken place in other parts of the country, in the West Bank or in Jerusalem, and that will lead us into one direction. However, if we're talking about a criminal incident, then obviously we'll continue to work and try and find that suspect and whatever we can in order to make sure that we apprehend that individual.
Mr. Rosenfeld, Cal Perry here again. I just want to pick up what Richard is talking about here. It's a Friday afternoon in Tel Aviv. If you could just help me explain to our viewers this street. It's a very busy street. I would imagine there were probably off-duty soldiers there enjoying their Friday afternoon. That has to come to some comfort for you and the security forces across the country, knowing that the reaction time is going to be that much faster.
That's correct. Our response time is very quick in all major cities and in all major public places. I mean, we're talking about a Friday afternoon in the center of Tel Aviv where there are hundreds of people in different pubs and sitting around and just taking it easy before the Sabbath comes in, which is a bit later on this afternoon. But our units were dispatched immediately to central Tel Aviv. We're talking about geographically a relatively small area, and therefore the response time is literally within minutes. All of our units are on the scene, including medical and emergency units. And at this moment in time, we're using the different teams to focus in the different neighborhoods and search, literally building by building, in order to try and find that suspect.
Again, reminding our viewers, this is a fresh story that we are just following, and I don't want to push you too far, Mr. Rosenfeld, but I'm wondering, even though you don't know what the motive was on this attack, has there been any discussion about increasing security along checkpoints leading in and out of the West Bank?
We have to put things into proportion and understand at this moment in time it's significant, and the most important thing for us at the moment for the Israeli police is to understand if we're talking about a terrorist-related incident or criminal-related incident. That is still not clear. Obviously, we're talking about just over an hour and a half since the incident took place. Once we'll understand whether it's a terrorist-related incident or criminal, then our units will advance the search in each different direction, which could lead obviously eventually to the West Bank area if it's a terrorist-related incident. And if it's criminal related, then we'll obviously have to look and see if there's anyone from the organized crime and families that are involved. That is a different direction altogether. I think we have to concentrate in understanding and letting our units at this moment in time continue searching patiently, intensively in the Tel Aviv area. And obviously the message to the members of the public is that at the moment, whoever doesn't need to be outside and walking around in public areas should stay in until we find the suspect.
Mr. Rosenfeld, Richard Louie here again. As you know so well, what we've been covering out of Munich and out of Belgium is something that you have been monitoring very closely there in Tel Aviv and in Israel. And we are now on January 1st, 2016 for you, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I do believe. And at this time, you've now had the last 24 hours where you were on high alert. What was your New Year's Eve-like preparations? And also, what did happen overnight in terms of incidents that might be related to this sort of activity?
Well, over the last 24 to 48 hours, there was heightened security for the New Year festivals. Everything went according to plan, both in central Tel Aviv. There were hundreds of people on the streets, thousands of people celebrating across Tel Aviv, as well as in Jerusalem, with many tourists in and around the areas, including since the Christmas celebrations just over a few days ago, since the 25th, where we had thousands of tourists visiting the Bethlehem area and the Galilee area in the north. So there was regular and heightened security which has taken place, but specifically today there was no intelligence whatsoever that there was going to be any type of incident in Tel Aviv. At this moment in time, our units are working and concentrating on finding the suspect.
Now, you say your units are concentrating on finding the suspect, so you believe it to be one, at least at this moment. Number two, you had mentioned earlier that you had some concern that he might be, or possibility thereof, of this suspect being holed up in an area close by, or perhaps one of these buildings close by. Can you give us more detail on what you know right now in terms of where this suspect might be?
We don't know 100% where the suspect is at the moment. What we do know is that he fled the area. Our units are continuing to geographically search the different neighborhoods, including, as I mentioned, hotel areas, the main beach, the front beach line area in the Tel Aviv area, which is on the coast, the coastal region. And within a few kilometers around that area, we've set up roadblocks and are searching both apartments as well as empty buildings and other sites that are being developed for the possibility that the suspect fled to that area.
Mickey Rosenfeld, we cannot thank you enough for taking time out to help us understand some of the operations as well as your approach there on the ground. Foreign press spokesman for the Israel police, Mickey Rosenfeld, appreciate your time. And for those of you who are just joining us here on MSNBC, we're following a developing breaking story within the last 2 or 3 hours or so. What we've been told by the foreign press spokesperson for the Israel police, saying that 9 were shot, 2 confirmed dead. They are now in a structured fashion looking for what they believe to be at least one suspect. and going through the area of Tel Aviv moving forward. They did not indicate, or were unable to indicate, whether this is terror related or not. And of course, it is so early on, they're being very careful in stating either way what might be the motive related to this. And as you look at these pictures coming out of Tel Aviv now, 4:09 p.m. on a January 1, 2016, that is the way they are welcoming, if you will, the new year in Israel. We'll continue to follow this breaking story coming out of Israel right here on MSNBC. When we come back, Francis Rivera has the latest for you. Stay with us.